We are live. Hi, Galina. Can you see me? Okay, great. I can see you. It's the first time I've invited someone on live, so hopefully everything is working. I can see you. You can see me. Can you say hi quickly so I know that we can hear you as well? So I can't hear you actually. Right. If someone could give quick feedback, whether you can be heard or not would be great. Okay.
Right. Is
There
this better?
you
Can
are.
you hear me now?
Yes,
Right.
amazing. Now it's working. Excellent. So we're going to go straight into it. So this is part two for anyone who's tuning in now or watching later on. This is part two of the World 3Y series that I'm running in January. We ran the first one last week where we talked about the real reasons why Q1 goals don't stick and what to do about it. And today we're on the juicy topic of we're focusing on how women are leaving money on the table without realizing and what smart moves we can actually make to avoid that from happening. And so I'm also joined by Galina today. She is a financial planner. She calls herself a financial doctor, if I'm right. And she has over 25 years in financial planning services. And now she's dedicated to supporting women in her own financial planning practice. So, welcome, Galina. I am so happy to see you here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful, great. Especially, you've been busy with your conference, so thank you for making the time. Really, really appreciate this.
Sure.
We'll go straight into it. So, the agenda is I'm going to talk about the three common ways I have seen in serving the women over the last couple of years, what I've seen where they're actually leaving money on the table, including me in the past, and it's a continuous growth. And then I'm going to give one actionable tip that they can take away straight away. And then lots of actionable tips from you around ISAs and tax relief and capital gains tax and pensions and all the lovely stuff. I'm calling it lovely stuff because sometimes we can have a mental block around that. So let's, work on our language, stuff that's going to help us make more money, keep more money, hold more money. Excellent. So I'm looking at my notes on the side. So I'm going to go into the three common ways I've seen women, high achieving, smart women who have high flying jobs, very good businesses, and yet leaving money on the table. And the number one that comes across is I'll do it later. And this is not just in tax planning. So we're obviously going to focus a bit on that. But this also spans across their like pricing, their proposals, the bold asks, the pitching and undercharging. I find, they're not pitching and they're not going for what they want. And one of the things I notice is that I'll do it later because they don't feel comfortable doing it now. So they're writing a proposal. They're like, okay, maybe ask for more, or maybe I should do something about my taxes, for example. But because they don't feel comfortable, they delay it. And that's how they leave money on the table. The second way I see it is I'll get it wrong. So there's this fear of getting wrong. So again, there is this belief that I don't want to get it wrong. And so whether it's tax planning or whether it's a pricing or proposal, again, when you're working on those numbers, you're thinking, okay, maybe I'm charging too much, maybe I'm charging, not enough, or whatever that case may be. And then again, we leave money on the table. And the third way is that I'll do it, or I'll look at it when I have a bit more headspace. And the underlying belief is when I feel ready. And what happens is, again, whether it's tax planning or pricing proposals or following up, is if you don't make that decision and act on it, then you end up again not charging what you want, not pricing correctly, not acting on the taxes or pensions or ISAs, whatever that is, in time, and then you end up missing out. That was certainly my case in the first few years when I lived in the UK. I was new here, and I used to work for an agency who created a lot of financial services literature, and that's how I know about a lot of structured products and lots of things. But and ISA as well, and that's how I learned there's something called ISA, but I didn't feel comfortable in it. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But one actionable tip that I want to give to anyone who's tuned in is, you can do it straight after this series, is you just need to sit down on your journal or your notebook or your napkin, whatever's in front of you, and write down, if I sort this today or within this week, what will it do for me? And the reason why we're doing it is when we are avoiding or do it later or fearing I'll get it wrong or I'll look at it when I'm ready or headspace, what's essentially happening from a mindset point of view is that your brain doesn't feel safe doing it. It's unfamiliar. It's not something we do day in, day out. It's very unfamiliar. And to our brain, it feels risky. And by saying that, if I do sort this today, what will it do for me? How I'll benefit from it? We're giving our mind a very clear instruction, our subconscious mind, our emotional mind, a very clear instruction, a very clear picture of the benefit, and that calms you down. And when you start looking at the benefit and the difference it's going to make, it could be more money, less stress, more peace of mind, not constantly having this feeling, oh, I still haven't done it, and it costs you a peace of mind. So when we show our brain, our subconscious, that what, this is the benefit, then it is more easier. It makes it more easier. And that's kind of, this principle applies to many things in life anyway, but especially to finance, because I hear from women like in venture capital or other industries that I have come across, that I manage my finances, like I manage, sorry, my company's finances. I'm actually even, coming from a financial background, and I'm doing it for others, but I'm not doing it for me, myself. I've heard that too. And it's the same beliefs, that there is this gap. So hopefully that is helpful. And now I want to go straight into speaking to you, Galina, and you can talk about the smart moves we can make before the end of the UK tax year, which is in April. And what we can do to avoid leaving that money on the table. And if you have anything to add to what I've just said, please feel free to add your thoughts as well. It would be wonderful to hear from your perspective.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I will indeed start with following up on your points. So out of your 3 points, two include timing. The first one, I'll do it later. And the third one, when I have a little bit more headspace. The challenge is some of the tax reliefs and allowances have expiry date. And the expiry date is the end of the tax year. And therefore, if we don't do it before they expire, unfortunately, they're gone.
Yeah.
And then this year's tax reliefs and allowances would be wasted. And then we end up overpaying tax unnecessarily, which is a shame.
Yeah, which is a real shame. Yeah.
Which is a real shame. Yeah, so I think I'll try and simplify my message, because you rightly mentioned it can be very technical. But I think the simple message is there are allowances and reliefs that expire. Let's not let them expire.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just keep that in mind, and we'll start from that. So what does actually expire and doesn't roll into the next year? It's the ISA, which is the individual savings account. Right? So, yes, go ahead.
Go ahead. So I've got some questions for you as well. How do you want to finish your point, and then I can ask the questions as well?
Absolutely. In fact, actually, before I dive into technical details, because the area can be a little complex, I wanted to highlight that I have a tax year-end reminder, which I believe you may have a soft copy.
Nice. Yes,
So,
everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, if anybody would like a hard copy or soft copy after the session, please reach out. But when I mention the page numbers, it will be here in this reference. So if you are at your leisure reviewing it at home, you'll know where to go. Please go ahead with your questions.
Okay, wonderful. No, that's really, really helpful. That's really, really helpful. Thank you for that.
Sure.
And at the end, we'll also talk about how people can get in touch with you, how women can actually get in touch with you. We'll talk about that as well. So I've got a list of some common questions that often come up, and including myself. So let's talk about ISA allowances first. So a common question that comes up is, I've heard that the ISA allowance is coming down. Is this correct? And what we can do about it?
Yes, as often the answer is yes and no. But I'll try and make it simple. So if you have a reference, that's on page 7 of my reference. So in April 27, the annual cash allowance, because ISA can be invested into both cash, and then it's very similar to your bank deposit, or stocks and shares. So it's the cash types of ISA will reduce down to 12,000 from April 27 for savers younger than 65 years old, which I believe most of your
ISA, yeah.
most of your readers and listeners. So therefore, yes, it would affect anybody younger than 65. Does it matter? Well, I think what's important here with ISAs is to think, do I need a cash ISA or do I need a stocks and shares? And here, what matters is how long you don't expect to need these savings. If you think you may need them within 3 years, then cash ISA may be a more secure option because it will not be exposed to the volatility of the equity market so much. But if you are not expecting to need this money into the medium term, then inflation risk becomes important. And inflation eats up into the actual power, the purchasing power of our savings. Therefore, in order to make sure that your £100 can still buy similar number of goods and services as today, it's worth investing into something that's likely to keep pace or even outpace inflation. And then we're talking about more of a stocks and shares. So therefore, coming back to your question, the 12,000 reduction for cash ISAs from 27, not 26, may or may not matter. Because if you don't need this particular savings for the next 5 years, it doesn't matter. We would recommend to invest them into the stocks and shares ISA anyway. But if you are building up possibly for a house purchase or another large purchase within a shorter term, then yes, make the most of this year's and the following year's tax allowance for cash. So allowance for cash ISA, because from April 27 it will reduce.
Okay.
Right?
Wonderful. Excellent. No, that makes sense. No, excellent tips. And also explaining the difference between the cash ISA and stock ISA. I think that's really, really helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
And the second question is, how do you decide whether you need a cash ISA or stock ISA, which actually you just covered. So I think we're fine with that.
Sure.
Next question is, should I put everything at once or make regular payments? What do you think is the best way?
Yes, thank you for this. I think this is a very important question, and I think the answer is very personal to each individual saver. We certainly recommend having some, as financial planners, we recommend having some what's called emergency savings on the side. So just in case if there is an interrupted income because there are challenges with jobs, or there is an unexpected expenditure. So we recommend to have a few months of your regular lifestyle costs in cash. Again, you can have that in a cash ISA. Because then the interest that your cash ISA pays is not taxable, unlike the bank deposit interest.
Right.
So therefore, so long as you have the savings in cash that covers you for a few months of expenditure, you're fine to look at more of a medium to long-term savings. And then we look more into the stocks and shares ISA. So it could be a combination of stocks and shares and cash. And then the attractive feature of regular payments into your stocks and shares ISA is actually the volatility of the equity markets. Because every month when you invest, you would be buying specific units in a fund or shares in a company, depending what you decide to invest in. And you can buy them at a stronger month, you can buy them at a certain level, but if the next month the stocks and shares fall, you would buy them cheaper.
Right. Yeah.
And buying cheaper is always a good idea. That's what we try, but it's impossible to time. So if you are able to set aside monthly payments,
Mhm.
you actually would be able to benefit from the volatility of the markets when it works in your favor.
Yeah, that's quite smart actually. Like I didn't think of that because in my ISA, I think I just put I wasn't going to need it, so I put it in. But stocks, it makes more sense. Yeah, the regular payments makes a lot more sense. Excellent, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And then I also want to ask about what other popular tax relief or allowances expire at the end of the tax year end, because you said some of them will expire. So which ones tax reliefs or allowances are going to expire?
Yes, absolutely. So the next most popular one is pension. And
Okay.
here you would see it on page 10. So what pensions actually advantage of pensions over ISAs is they will return some of the income tax if you're paying it out of your savings. So if it's a contribution directly from your company,
Mhm.
including your own, if you're working from your own limited company,
Mhm.
then that can be made before taxes. But if you're contributing out of your savings that you don't need for medium to long term, then the tax relief is available. And that's very attractive because we know that the taxes in Britain are not low and they're not about to get any lower, as
No,
we know.
no, no, no.
That's right. So any opportunity to obtain back some of the income tax is usually very attractive. There are quite a lot of rules around it. Undoubtedly, as you would imagine, HMRC put in place. And so I'm not going to bore you with those numbers here on the session, but they are available and described within the reference material that I've mentioned and showed. But so effectively, the tax relief option up to 60,000 a year is very attractive and worth remembering.
Okay, that's amazing, wonderful. And if they want, if anyone who's watching, I think I have one comment here. If anyone who's watching, if they want to reach out to you, they'll be able to ask further questions as well. Yeah.
Please, absolutely, that's right. We can review any specific questions.
Okay, wonderful, great. And then I want to move on to pensions. And again, another question is that I've heard that the pension annual allowance can be carried forward to the next tax year. Is that true?
Yes, indeed, that is true, and that's the advantage of the pensions, a pension over ISAs, because the ISAs allowance 20,000 expires at the tax year. So we can carry forward the pension allowance of 60,000 up to 3 years forward. But the challenge is it's the income tax relief. The income tax relief you will only get in the year that you contribute.
Right.
Yes. So if you have good earnings in that particular year and you would like to obtain some of your income tax back with the savings that you don't need for a while, that's worth keeping in mind and not missing the deadline.
All right, wonderful. That's really interesting. Great, thank you. I think that's all the questions. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close?
Before we go, just maybe a very quick one on the capital gains tax.
Mhm,
And
yes.
all I'll mention here is I particularly notice my clients getting caught out if they have stocks which the companies where they used to work for gave them as part of the compensation. Because sometimes the bonuses are paid not only in cash, but a combination of stocks and cash. And then the capital gains tax relief, the annual one, is very useful for you to gradually sell it down without incurring additional taxes. I'll leave it at that without overcomplicating. But if you find yourself with forgotten shares that the company you used to work at 10 years ago gave you and you've never looked at them, it's well worth. It's
Okay.
well worth digging them
I
out.
think I
That's
might be
all I'll
doing that.
say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, I might be doing that. Okay, wonderful. Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time. And if anyone's listening to this now live or watching it later, what's the best way to contact you if they have any further questions and would be interested in booking a consult with you?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for asking. And I think LinkedIn probably would be the simplest way to find me.
Mhm.
And I will make sure that my comment, I'll comment right after the session. And so you're very welcome to look out for me on the LinkedIn via the comments. I'd be happy to help.
Okay, wonderful. And is it possible to have a PDF copy of this brochure? Is that at all possible? And I can attach it to the comment section as well.
Yes, absolutely. That's right.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I will let you go because I know you're at a conference. Thank you so much. It's been amazing. This is kind of the first time I've had, a guest on live, so I'm quite pleased with how it's gone. Thank you for making it so wonderful and so much so much information we've shared today. And I'll see you next time. See you next time. Have a lovely day. Take care.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for inviting me and for supporting and empowering women. Well done.
Thank you so much. Really means a lot. So onwards and upwards. Great.
Indeed. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.